I really like The Last of Us, but I'm starting to think I don't love The Last of Us. This is a show that is increasingly producing, shall we say, mixed results. Let's talk about The Last of Us, episode 4. Hold My Hand. Not sure what they're getting at with that title, and I'm certainly not wild about it, but whatever the case, welcome, sailors and starnauts. This is Swords and Starships Channel. I am your host, Captain Garrett, and this is my review of The Last of Us Episode 4. As you know from my previous videos, I have never played the Last of Us game simply because I just never, for whatever reason, had a PlayStation. And I regret it because I've heard nothing but incredible things about the game. I've always wanted to play it, and I'm a little bit disappointed that I'm seeing the show before I saw the game. But that being said, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and I can tell you my expectation of this story is that it should be emotionally riveting and just hit you right in the gut. And I am not getting that at all with Joel and Ellie. I mentioned in my last review that I felt Bella Ramsey was growing on me, and her performance, rather, was growing on me. I don't like the character that she's performing. And I think it really clicked for me, too, when I watched Critical Drinker's most recent video, There May Be Trouble Ahead. Check out Critical Drinker, hat tip to his video, which had an excellent analysis. And I think that perfectly explains all the things wrong with Ellie's character. So the problem is her character sucks. She is sarcastic. She is snarky. There are just not very many charming qualities to her. There are some really great scenes with a lot of very natural tension here. For example, there's a scene in which they're camping at night. She asks a question about what might happen if raiders come across them, and Joel's answer is excellent. I don't want to spoil it for you. And it illustrates that she really is out of her depth. And I think the more the show leans into that, the better. But I just, for whatever reason, don't buy it from this character. It is a wonderful moment of charm when they are settling down for the night. They're making camp, and she has discovered a book of puns, pun jokes. And she's kind of trying to get a rise out of Joel. She's trying to break through his thick exterior, which is great, by the way. I think this is a great moment for both of their characters. We should have seen it in episode 3, really. Bill and Frank's excellent adventure should have happened later in the season overall. I think it was too much of a departure, and this is part of the reason why, because we should have had this building up. I think the problem that we have was articulated really well by Alan Ng of Film Threat. Shout out Film Threat with Chris Gore. Check out that channel if you haven't. Excellent film reviews. Alan pointed out that we as the viewers and the audience, we are ahead of the story. Meaning, we essentially already know that that what's going to happen in this story is Joel and Ellie are going to form a sort of father-daughter relationship. It's going to start out with them sort of not liking each other or not trusting each other, but over time they form a connection and they become, great friends. And the problem is this kills the tension in the show. It really does, because we're getting no tension from this relationship. So the tension must come from the danger on the road, and there is definitely some of that. But I have to say, there is kind of a striking lack of zombies in these last 2 episodes. It's almost as if we don't even have to worry about them. That kills a lot of tension in a show about a fungus zombie outbreak. Granted, we're still in the first act-ish of the season, so let me just break down one of the show-breaking elements in this episode. There is a fight with a couple of humans that are attacking them, and Ellie is called upon to employ violence. Later, after Ellie has employed violence against another human being, Joel is having a conversation with her, and he asks her essentially if she's okay. And he says, your first time can be really awful, and I know what you're going through, and hey, if you want to talk to me. It's a pretty good scene, especially because Bella Ramsey actually sheds real tears in her performance here, and for the first time, we actually see Ellie react with some serious vulnerability. doesn't even really feel like she's been trying to survive. She's been excited to have a gun so she can shoot things, but you don't get the sense that it's because she's terrified and she wants to be able to defend herself. You get the sense that this is all like striking her as a great adventure. In order for horror to be effective, there must be a fear of loss. Joel had that. He had it with his daughter and he had it with Tess. And he kind of has it with his brother. So that's 3 ways that Joel has a fear of loss in this show. Ellie does not appear to have any fear of loss. She's an orphan. She doesn't like Joel. She didn't really care about Tess. She definitely didn't like the Fireflies. There's no one she's looking for. She doesn't even really have a dream that she wants to achieve in her life. You know, she doesn't have like this dream of curing the plague or, I don't know, building a farm somewhere. What is Ellie afraid of? Like nothing. So when this moment, when she actually sheds tears and she's saying, you know, she's showing rather that something is affecting her. Finally, I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I misjudged this show. Maybe it was to the point was that she was putting on a tough front. She was putting on a hard exterior, but now we're starting to see the cracks. And like 3 seconds later, they completely undo all of that because then she says, well, this isn't my first time. And even later in the episode, he says, well, hey, do you want to talk about it? She says, no, I don't. So let me get this straight. The one time that she shows any emotion ever, the one time that Joel has one emotional thing he can offer her, one thing, which is it's your first time inflicting violence on another human. I understand how that can be. Let me help you with this. And she sheds tears and then she completely undoes it by saying, oh, it's not my first time and I'm cool. I'm chill. I'm kind of having the same emotional feeling with this show that I had with the Game of Thrones, not House of the Dragon, but the original Game of Thrones. Sometimes I had a real emotional investment in a character, like Prince Oberyn, ironically played by Pedro Pascal. I was very invested in that character, and I loved that character. And we all know what happens when you love things in Game of Thrones. The problem is I never fell in love with Game of Thrones. To me, it was always kind of a dystopian story about man's inhumanity to man, or dragons' inhumanity to man, as the case may be. Those stories are interesting and they're fascinating and they're intriguing, but they are rarely stories I'm truly passionate about. And so far, The Last of Us is not a show I am passionate about. It is not a show I'm strongly invested in. And I'm beginning to think this show has the wrong attitude about how to tell this story. I think this take on Ellie is wrong. It's just not working at all. It's not charming. She's not charming. Bella Ramsey's doing fine. I think the material she's given is crap. Let me just bring in an article that I think will help. So this article from GameSpot, I think, highlights a crucial problem with what's starting to really not work in The Last of Us Season 1. The Last of Us star Bella Ramsey was told not to play Naughty Dog's game. Ramsey, who plays Ellie in HBO's adaptation of Naughty Dog's critically blah, 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 said in an interview with USA Today, after my first audition, they asked me, have you played it? Ramsey said. And I said, nope. And they said, keep it that way. Okay, try this headline from Bounding Into Comics. HBO's The Last of Us showrunner believes the original games tell the greatest story that has ever been told in video games. The Last of Us showrunner Craig Mazin believes that he is working to adapt the greatest story that has ever been told in video games. Mass Effect. So they told Bella Ramsey essentially not to base her performance on the character in the video games, and that tells me that they did not base her character in the TV show on the character in the video games. Why? Why do these creatives always freaking do this? Why? The Last of Us is one of the greatest video game stories ever told. Mazin himself said it, so then why not adapt it that way? Why not give your actors the tools to be the character that's in the games? What they have created here is a character I just have no emotional connection with, and a story that is lacking almost all emotional tension because Really, does she need Joel for anything? Does she need him for anything in this story? I have another question. Just I'm just going to throw this out here. Do your own work. You can just answer this on your own. You don't have to tell me. I'm just going to ask the question, and I just want you to think about it. If a zombie apocalypse or a nuclear holocaust or a economic collapse or whatever, the super volcano at Yellowstone blows up and and all of society collapses and civilization is gone. Of the 10 raider gang leaders you meet in the apocalypse, how many of those 10 do you expect to be women? Of the 10 resistance insurgencies you meet in the apocalypse, how many of them do you expect to be led by women? I'm just saying. And if you are a sailor or star nut, you already understand. I love female badasses. I love them. When I was a kid, She-Ra was one of my favorite heroes right alongside He-Man. Every time we went to the video store, I had to get the She-Ra He-Man crossover. It was my favorite thing. I had to have it. We're talking like 8-year-old Captain Garrett when I was still like an ensign. I had to have that. I love female. Red Sonja, Ellen Ripley, Sarah Connor. The list goes on and on and on. Okay. And by the way, Captain Janeway of the Starship Voyager, just an excellent captain, one of my favorite Star Trek characters, love her to death. So this is not in any way an objection to women in charge. They're great in charge. Why are they the only gender in charge? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I cannot recall even one male leader of any of these resistance cells, and I can't even recall a male leader in Fedra. I recall male soldiers. I recall male first, lieutenants. But, can we just be real for a second here? It is going to take one badass B.I. itch to have a badass aggressive man looking to her to call the shots in the post-apocalyptic world when civilization has utterly fallen. All I am saying is that every leader, every single one without exception, must earn the respect they command. And I am happy to see women earn that respect in stories, but I do want it to be earned. The days of giving Hollywood artists and creators the benefit of the doubt are over. I don't owe this show anything. I don't owe any actor, writer, director, producer anything, and neither do you. You owe them nothing. The vision feels wrong to me. The vision feels off. So let me know what you think in the comments, whether you agree that the vision is off, whether you think the show is worse than I said or better. I am deeply grateful to all the new subscribers who've come into the channel. I'm humbled. I am honored. It is my goal to entertain you, inspire you, and enlighten you, and to converse with you and to get your thoughts. So that is my review of The Last of Us, Episode 4, Take My Hand. What the hell does that title mean? I don't get it. If you know what it means, maybe clue me in. But until next time, this is Captain Garrett saying to you, sailors and star knots, thank you for watching Swords and Starships Channel, and I will see you out there. Make sure to check out my novel series, Blood and Oak. It's available now on Amazon. It follows the sword and sails adventures of midshipman John Sullivan. When his sister is kidnapped and sold into slavery by the Barbary pirates, this daring young Navy officer embarks on a suicidal quest for rescue and revenge. It's available now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and a fantastic audiobook narrated by Travis Baldry. I'm not just giving commentary and commenting on the problems in entertainment. I'm doing my best to be part of the solution, and I would be truly honored to earn your readership and your support. Until then, I say hail to you, hail to the fellowship, and hail to the Iron Age of entertainment.